Hi, my name is Rich Panico. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Symbio Pro, and welcome to another episode of Pharma Talk. Today we're going to discuss all the services that DDL, Dow Development Labs, provides. Formulation, packaging and labeling, and many other things. And we'll give you a little brief update on how our merger is going. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I am so excited today because I have my partner of 22 years, Debra Dow, with me on Pharma Talk. And normally I would say it's a pleasure to have a guest. I feel it's the other way around today. I feel it's really the pleasure is all on your side of the table.
Yes, it is. I'm very honored to be here, and certainly this is quite a privilege.
Yeah, I'm glad that you acknowledge that. So what we want to talk about today is DDL, Dow Development Laboratories, and our lab in Petaluma. Not enough people know about DDL and what we do. So I'm going to allow you to maybe talk about, first, when we started Symbio, and we were doing our CRO thing, for the first few years, and I was interested in doing the, formulation lab. You were very much like, who'd want that?
Well, I didn't think you knew how to do formulations either, so that was kind of a problem.
But here we are.
I know, right?
And DDL was opened in, 2015 we started it? Maybe 2014 got it going.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you the stage here. So, let's talk about first formulations, or actually let's talk about how you got started. Because your uncle, Gordon, was pretty famous in research development.
Right. So when I got out of pharmacy school, not that long ago.
No.
Just, I don't know, recently. Yes, I went to work for him, and basically it was the very beginning of sort of a contract formulation development, kind of a consulting business. And I was spent there 12 years doing formulations, topical formulations. Now,
right.
In pharmaceuticals, you can have solid dosage forms like tablets and capsules, but what the specialty formulations that we do at DDL are semi-solid, so creams, ointments, gels, solutions, pastes, those kinds of specialty formulations. So mostly applied to skin, but also for ophthalmology or for women's health, just different things, oral pastes. So, I worked there for 12 years before, and during that time, you and I met.
That's right. We met at different trade shows.
Yes, we did.
We would bump up against each other. The booths, that's what I...
Yes, it was the booths.
And we would make bets, and for the Mets and the Yankees, and I would lose. And one time I had to serve toast to everybody that came to your booth.
Yes, and the people actually took the toast.
They
which
really
was
liked it.
surprising.
That's a long time ago, because nobody would go near it now. But
no, but this is post-COVID. I guess people don't just take toast from random people.
I'm sure it was delicious because I put a lot of love into that.
You did, and there was all kinds of bread options.
A lot, yeah.
I know. It was special.
My background is bread. My parents owned a bread truck.
Yeah, I know. So that was sort of the whole reason.
I had the background to do that.
Yeah. No, not everybody has those skills.
No, absolutely not. So it's real interesting. So we started DDL, and the clients, the spread of what they can be it really actually still fascinates me. You can have, I'll let you say it.
A man and a molecule.
A man and a molecule, all the way up to the largest pharmaceutical company in the world.
Correct. And the thread between that is just that they need their API, their drug, put into a formulation that they can then test on people or get to a product. So no matter where you are in the process or who you are as a company, you're going to need that to be able to move it forward to clinical and then use Symbio to do the clinical research.
Right, and that was always the plan. We can take you from formulation to final report. I think we used to use that phrase a lot in the early days.
I think we did. We've used a lot of phrases, but
yeah, exactly.
That was a good one.
So I got a question. So what's the toughest formulation? Well, you don't have to say it, but is there one that is something that was really difficult for you and the crew to get through?
So the types of formulations that are difficult, just kind of generally, it depends on the API or the drug substance. So if it's not soluble, for example, in anything that you might want to put on your skin, that can be problematic if they want it dissolved in the formulation. So, right. And sometimes when it's dissolved, then it's unstable. Mm-hmm. So you have to sort of find the sweet spot, so to speak, of being stable and also in the form that you want it to be in. So if you can't get it solubilized, then you have to micronize it or have it be dispersed, which also causes some other issues. So there's been a lot of interesting challenges for product development over the years we've been doing this, and but usually it's around that. It's around trying to get the drug most effectively in a formulation and stable.
What about like the feel of the topical formulation? I mean, is that, I guess if you can't have it where it's running all over your arm, so there's got to be a certain like texture and feel that goes into it as well, right?
Exactly, and it depends on where you're gonna put it on your body, right? So you don't put an greasy ointment on your face if you're treating acne. You don't want, if you're covering a large body area, you don't want something that's really hard to rub in, right? You want to put it all over. So where it's going to be treated, what the condition is, all of those are factors. And certainly people don't like it to smell if they're, all of those things, because even if it's an approved product, if you go and get your prescription filled, the doctor wants you to use it, right? Or it's not going to treat anything. So it's only as good as people use it.
So like, when do you know, like when the texture is not right, or how does that work?
They can do some evaluations, and it depends on what the product's for, where it matters so much, as much as possible. If it's a rare disease, people may not care. They might be very happy with whatever whatever works the best.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they'll take the vehicle without drug in it, and the person developing it, the client, might test them and see what they like the best. Some people like, we want a gel, which is kind of watery and, kind of just rubs in and goes away. So it really depends on what they call a target product profile is. So, what are they selling at the end of the day?
Right. So do your clients come to you generally with a formulation? What's like the percentage or you have to, or an idea that you have to put together?
It's a mix of sort of helping with a formulation that's already sort of been developed to starting from nothing. So there's a wide range of when people show up at the door at DDL for help. So, but it can be any of that. Sometimes they'll do a very basic formulation to do early testing to make sure proof of concept or something is, met, so that they can get funding usually is required. And then they'll come and do the full development. So it's a mix, and we can modify what's already in place or start from zero.
So is penetration the biggest problem of the skin barrier?
Well, that is an indication of efficacy to some degree, because before you get into people, you want some idea that the drug might be delivered to the site of action.
Right.
So in vitro penetration studies are what's used for that, to screen formulations. They don't necessarily tell you if it's going to be efficacious, but they do tell you or show you in cadaver skin how low or how far it will go through the skin.
Right. Okay.
So that's used as a screening method. Animal models are often used for determining if a drug is working and or if formulas are better than others too. But it depends on the drug. So
you have the formulation the client likes, client likes. What next?
Well, usually, glad you asked. Usually what we'll do is do a stability study. Then you set it up in the package, you put it up on stability. At this point, we've developed an analytical methods for testing it. So our group that has analytical, they do the methods development and they validate those methods. So they put up the product at different conditions, 25 degrees C with humidity at 65. There's different stat conditions that the stability studies are run under. And then over time, and just make sure that the drug is stable. So that's important to do. And then they start doing like preclinical studies, right, in animals to make sure it's not irritating
Which we don't do.
We don't, but that's sort of the next step before we get to the clinical. And then they need that before they can submit their IND.
And how long does that generally take?
It varies, given if they're going to do how long their mini pig studies are. So the whole preclinical package depends on the drug and the indication and what you're trying to do, how long you're going to treat people and patients. So, that can be variable. But there's some basic ones too that are required.
Now we're through animal testing. Everything is like super duper. Now what do we do?
Now we file our IND.
File the IND.
Yeah, write a clinical protocol. We start at DDL. We would be making clinical batches for you,
right?
And packaging it and labeling it for your clinical study. Submit your IND, get Symbio on board to run that study.
Yeah.
And
That's important because the packaging and labeling, it used to be our clients, that was something that they handled a long time ago. Now it's just like, it's basically a line item on our list all the time. It's something that we have to do. And I would suggest that other CROs use your services for packaging and labeling.
oh, well, thank you.
I
We do
think
quite a
it's-
nice job with that.
Yes.
Well, people don't realize that there is a lot of involved in that. Like, oh, just label it. Well, no, you have to, there's some information that needs to go on on the products. If you're blinding it, which usually happens later, but then you've got to make sure they all look the same so you can't tell which is which product. And then we do the distribution to the different sites. That's nice.
Now, this is interesting too. So let's take this scenario. We have a European client, right? And you want to be the drug depot for it. And we're running it in the US and EU or wherever. So what does that entail for you to actually ship to be the IP distribution for the EU client?
Right. So in that case, if we've made the product, depends on where the product's coming from. But if we had done all the product development, we had manufactured it, labeled it, we would distribute, we'd release that labeled product and distribute it in the US sites. For anything in the Europe, we would use a depot that we have depends on where the countries are, but we would use a European depot to distribute there, and a QP or qualified person to receive that product into the country.
And a qualified person is?
Well, they responsible for, how to describe it, for making sure that all of the GMP or all of the regulations were met when that product was produced. So anything that's done outside, then they'll check all the paperwork, make sure that your documentation is correct, and basically verify that it's okay to use for people. So it's kind of an important role that they play.
Got it.
So those folks will audit your facility, they'll audit the documentation, and that's what's required for their responsibilities as a qualified person.
So let's talk about the lab itself. Maybe you could talk about the clean rooms and how the lab is set up a little bit.
Okay. And you've been there.
Well, I'm asking, yeah, I've been there.
I know. So, and it's always better when you're there, Rich.
I don't want to disagree.
Of course not. So the facility is about 24,000 square feet. And in that space, there's office space, there's laboratory space, and then there's production or facilities, manufacturing and processing rooms, as well as warehouse. So the laboratories are broken into the formulation lab and the analytical laboratory spaces. And the regular equipment's in there that we would use in formulation, which are like mixers. A lot of it's very much like cooking, but laboratory type materials. Right. Mixers, heating plates, testing instruments like viscometer, pH meters. Those are kind of the basic things. It doesn't sound very exciting, but it is. And there's hoods and things for controlling and chemical handling. Analytical lab, we have mostly HPLCs, but other test equipment also. In the production facility, they're just rooms that we use for labeling. So those aren't terribly special as far as air handling. But then in our manufacturing areas, we have 4 different rooms that have HEPA filters and air handling that's conducive to keeping segregation, not cross-contamination of products, and also cleanliness. So, and people have to gown up to work in those rooms. So, and that's where we make the batches that are going to be used on people. A lot of the other work is done in the laboratory if it's just R&D.
And actually, if you're interested, on the website, don't we have a nice little video of this? There
is video of sort of a tour through the lab, some space, some of the areas, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How often do clients come through the lab these days?
They actually come quite often because people want to see the equipment. They want to meet with the team that is on their project. So much more so than we do at Symbio, where they don't necessarily come to our lovely facility here.
No.
But they do, and they audit. There's a lot more audits that are
Yeah,
handled by our quality group.
They're totally missing out by not coming here.
Oh, I know.
I didn't want to say it.
It's fantastic. Port Jeff, summertime.
Right. So another question you probably get is about has the FDA been there?
So the FDA, like federal FDA, does not come to DDL because we're not a commercial manufacturer.
Yeah.
We do have a license from the state of California, the FDA, California's FDA, to get a license to do manufacturing that we do. They inspected us when we started, but they don't routinely come and audit and visit us. There's other priorities, but so no, we don't have inspections like, although Symbio has had one recently.
Yes, we did great.
I know, that's so fantastic.
That's really what we
right?
should talk about.
I know, I think we should. But no, I mean, that's, sometimes you're in a place where there's not a lot of FDA oversight. And even at Symbio, it's 22 years later. I mean,
Right.
this is the second
FDA
FDA audit.
Yeah.
So, so for DDL, the FDA, it doesn't come.
Okay. Well, again, their loss.
I know, right? We're happy to have.
So now, post-merger now,
Mm-hmm.
you're in charge of a lot more. You're the Chief Operating Officer of Symbio Pro-Nevera.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Gee, thank you.
It's well-deserved, well-earned. So we'll get off the lab for a second. You haven't. How's that been working with our European team? Getting to know them. I know it's a big transition for everyone.
You know, it's been really interesting to look at basically the same business or a very similar business, but being done in a different location, right? Geography, sort of culturally, some of those different things. But I mean, the great thing about it is there's just such a really core of, solid, good work, very experienced dermatology, deep experience there.
Yeah.
So it's really, coming together in a amazingly well way as far as just everybody knows what the vision is, right? What we're supposed to be doing. It's not like we have to reorient it in any way like that. So no, it's been. I mean, there's not that it's all been like obvious what to do. We're still finding some ways to do things better together.
Right.
But no, it's been a really unique and fun challenge.
So what about the difference between like us here? We're in America. It's like we're like on Adderall, cubed here all the time, running with our heads off. I don't know. How is it in Germany? It always seems to be so much smoother.
They do have a calmness about them, those Germans. No, it's all great. They do have some different rules. So from one of the responsibilities I have now is person or HR or whatever too. So there are different rules and German laws about how employees can work or how many hours and the vacation rules. And so it's a little bit different.
Right.
And they have more holidays than in the U.S. So, but we're working through that. It's just a little different.
A lot of bank holidays in Germany.
They do seem to have
It's
a lot
like
of
2 a week.
I don't think quite that many, but yes, it's more.
And it's interesting.
July, or when was it? May, there was a lot of holidays.
Yeah, and now it's vacation time.
Yeah, that's all right. They
I
know how to
think
do it in Germany.
They totally know how to do it.
I know. We should take.
We'll be working here in the summer, sweating, but anyway. So all good. For me, it was honestly, for the commercial part, it's kind of, I want to say easier, because the common goal is very obvious.
Yeah, right.
We're out there to get business, but we've all meshed so well, so fast. It's like it feels like we've been working for years now, and we spent a lot of time together. So I think my job obviously was the easiest.
Yeah, well, which
to
is
put
good.
together, because
who knows what would have happened. But no, it is kind of great, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like what we can do now for clients is so much more than before. And it was great as Pro-Nevera, when we merged, they didn't have data management, statistics, or a U.S. group to do the research here in the U.S. So all that was farmed out. Now we have it all in one place. So perfect match.
It does become this very comprehensive, very knowledgeable in dermatology, and we have the expertise in both U.S. and now Germany. So global.
Global company.
We are so global.
That's exciting. So I have to thank you, and I apologize. The pleasure was on this side of the table. I take that back. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thanks for 22 years.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how I did it.
I don't either.
But thank you very much. We'll go do work now.
Let's get back to work.
Let's get back to work.